No. I'm going to start with a little bit of a lecture. So this is, once again, training session for NVivo. So this is basically what we're going to be covering. We'll talk a little bit about qualitative research in general, so you have some idea of what you're working towards using this program. We'll also talk about setting up your project and bringing documents in. I have some test documents, so don't worry if you didn't bring your own. We'll talk about setting up nodes. Those are what the NVivo program uses to call your themes, all right, which are what you find in the qualitative data. We'll also work on actually coding the data, all right, and then also querying, which is how you find results. The good thing about NVivo is that it will actually use a series of several filters that will help you get to your results more easily than if you were to use another program or perhaps like pen and paper. So with qualitative data, the idea is that you start with the data sources. The handout that I gave you, they have little numbers in the boxes, so that kind of tells you the different commands or the steps in the process that correspond with each step in the qualitative data collection and analysis process. All right. So as you can see from the chart, you start off with documents in the first step. Those are your data sources. They could be interviews, they could be focus group or individual interviews, they can even be pictures, they could be sound files, they can be videos, all right? And then the next step that you do is you code them, all right? What does that mean? You're looking for different themes that come from your data. So are there similarities between what different types of people are saying, all right? Can something be used to describe what you're seeing, all right? And with NVivo, the idea is that you take the text that encapsulate those, or where that theme is present, and you put them into kind of little, I have to think of them as theme buckets, all right? So you say, oh, this looks like something that I'm looking for, put that in theme 1. Now, when you're looking at your results, the results come from your themes usually. All right? Sometimes a theme can be a finding in and of itself, so you'll see that theme 1 and finding 1 are both the same color. All right, but oftentimes your findings will be kind of like a blending, and the findings, of course, answer your research questions. All right, so you see that theme 2 and theme 3 are blue and yellow, and so mixed together they create green, which is finding number 2. Does anyone have any questions about that? The difference between qualitative and quantitative data, there are a few, but basically the idea with quantitative data, usually you start more from the top down, so you come up with a theory or a model of how the world works, all right, and then you find variables, very specific variables that you try to use to test your hypothesis or your model or your theory. With qualitative data, oftentimes we talk about using a grounded theory approach, which is very inductive. So you look and see what your data is. You're not always looking for very predefined categories, and then you're trying to see what the data is telling you. So because you're not looking for very specific variables, right, you have a little more freedom and flexibility. Nowadays, of course, a lot of studies want you to be mixed methods, right, and there are different ways of mixing the methods. I actually got my PhD in April, and what I did was a mixed method study. So I started with a series of focus group interviews because not much was known about my topic. From there, I was able to identify some kind of proto-themes that I was looking for. Then I switched to individual interviews, all right, and then I went more in depth, all right, kind of really fleshed those themes out. And then after analyzing that, then I switched to the quantitative side. So I did a survey. Now, it wasn't like I forgot about all the qualitative stuff, but I used the quantitative survey to see if what I was finding in a smaller population could be applicable to a larger population of over 100 people. So just a little bit about setting up your project. In general, this is what I recommend no matter what program you're using. So when you're naming files, I think it's always good to have a shorter name. If you want to have a longer name, it's fine with you, but you'll get tired of typing out, dissertation, final study, blah, 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 right? So keep the name short. I do think it is worth it, though, to put the date that you work on the file, all right? And the reason why is that you should be saving your data, all right, wherever you told the IRB you were going to save it, right? So it's good to have it, I think, at a minimum of 3 locations. Usually your laptop or your work computer, a flash drive, and I think it's good to have it online somewhere. All right, but with the IRB, you'll probably have to make sure that it's like a secure place, especially if you have potentially sensitive information. Now, the reason why you want to put the date in is because when you store it in a location, usually the date that it will log is the date that you actually put it in that location, not necessarily the last date that you worked on the project. So yeah, you could always like look at the file information to see when it was last modified, but I think it's a hassle. All right, but I always do want to make sure that what I'm working on is the correct version. Usually it's the most recent, but sometimes if something goes wrong, you know you do want to go back and have like an earlier version. Does anyone have any questions about that? No? Okay. All right, so the test files are located at this website. So everyone has to go to this web address. And for the people that this is being recorded for, this website should continue existing as long as I'm here. And when you go to that website, in the folder, you'll want to download, there's a PDF file, and then there's an interview file, which is a doc. So you want the image.pdf file, and you also want the interview.doc file.
You want PDF, you said?
Yep. Yeah. It looks like Palmage, I think. Yeah, it's actually PA image, but I forgot that a capital I looks like an L. Oh, sorry, it's a J. It's JTQU. Yep. Yeah, so you want these two files. Yep. Yeah.
Do you have to download the one with the NVivo format too? Or is it image?
Yeah. But you want the PA image file and also the interview? Yes. Yeah, so you want to download them. So I'm actually going to go to that. Alright, so what you want to do for this one, right click, download, save file. And then the interview file as well. We're also right click and download. So the other two, one is a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, the other is the handout. If you want, you can download this as well. Yeah. All right, just going to put up the website address one more time. Yeah, it's a JTQU, not ITQU. You guys got it? You downloaded them?
Yeah, I can do that.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, you can do that if you want. But you need the file saved on your computer because we're going to need to save them into your NVivo project. Yeah, so you do have to download them onto the desktop or somewhere easy to find. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to want everyone to open NVivo. All right, NVivo might be under All Programs and hidden in the QSR folder. All right, and it's NVivo 11.
If it's asking you to download the update, say ignore it.
Yeah, ignore. That's true. Ignore the update.
Ignore it, yeah.
Okay. All right. So once we're here, we're going to start with a blank project. Okay. You can title the project anything you'd like. All right. With NVivo, they usually have these little boxes where you can put descriptions or little notes. I usually never use it, but they're there if you want to. And let me just make sure this is where I can find it. Okay.
Generally, do you click the right user actions to publish the event log?
So the question you're asking is, do you write them to an event log, your actions? Is it asking you to?
There's like a little checkbox that you
Yeah, I usually don't. But you can if you want.
I have a question.
Yep.
Am I uploading the interview?
You will be.
But not, you uploaded something, was that something?
I downloaded something. Did you download the files?
I did, they're here.
Okay, good. So you need to save them on the desktop or somewhere. Okay.
You see it's here, it's
Okay.
under vocalness.
Yeah, just on that desktop. You want the easiest desktop to find? Alright, okay. Alright. So this is your NVivo file, alright. With the display, alright, these over here are kind of like your main commands. These will open the commands for this particular one, like for sources, will enter in this panel above here. Alright. So you see for sources, it looks like a little filing cabinet. Alright, that's where you put your files. With NVivo, there's two types of files. You have internal files and external ones. Internal means that you take whatever the file is and you put it into your NVivo project. I recommend that everything you do be an internal. Alright, the reason why external is an option is because there are some types of documents that you can't kind of grab and put into like a file. Usually that would be something like a website or something. Or for some reason like you wanted to save a local copy on your machine. Alright, so what it really is like if you're creating a connection to a document as opposed to taking the document and putting it in the file. I would say though, even if it's like a website or something, take a screenshot of it and then code that. And the reason why is because if it changes or if like the link disappears, you don't want to lose your work. Alright, so make everything an internal file. With the internal folder, it's just like any other folder. You can create subfolders. There's pros and cons to doing that, and it really depends on how much data you have. If we have time later, I'll show you a project that I worked on where we had like over 300 documents. And in that case, it just helped to have like some extra folders. There's two ways to make folders. The way that you use to click through. Alright, you want to make sure that you select internals. Alright. And then you click Create, which is this tab up here. Alright. And then you're going to click Create Folder. So we're going to call our first folder Interview. So INTER-VIEW. Alright. Yeah. So remember, Create Folder Interview. And then the interview folder should appear under the internals, under the main folder. The other way to create a folder is if you have the home folder selected, right-click. If you're using a Mac, the equivalent for right-clicking is you hold down the control button and then you click as normal. Alright. So from there, then the option to make a new folder comes up immediately. Remember, once you right-click on internals, we're going to call the second folder Lit, like in literature review. So LIT, and then click Enter. Alright, now just like the folders like on your normal computer, you can move them around. Like if you want to put the Lit folder into the interview folder, alright, you click on it, click on the icon, you can drag it, you can put it under interview. And so now Lit is a subfolder of interview. If you want to move it back out, you grab the Lit folder again, and then you click and drag it onto the internals. Okay. Right. So now, does anyone have any questions about that?
I have a question. Why is it allowing me to drag it?
It's a little tricky getting it.
I got it.
Okay, you do have to.
More aggressive.
Yeah, you have to click like right on the middle of like the icon, and then you have to like try to like pull it around and see if you got it, and then you can actually make sure that wherever you're putting it is highlighted. All right. But it does take a little bit of practice. And unfortunately, this is for removing all things in the program. So we'll see when we start creating like nodes, it can be difficult to move those around, but it is possible. All right. Other questions or concerns? No? All right.
I still cannot drag it out from the viewpoint.
Okay. Minglu's going to come around and help you. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add the interview file to the interview folder. All right, so we're going to click on interview. Now your file, the interview, is a type of data, so you want to click on the data tab. All right, and then you'll see a lot of these little arrows up here. These tell you the type of files that you're importing. So the interview file is a document, so you want to click that you want to import a document. Okay, and now you have to find where you save the interview document. Once you've selected it, open it, and then just hit OK. All right. With this, once again, you can add some more notes. You can even change the color. All right. I usually don't do any of that, but it's an option. And then just hit OK. All right. Is anyone not able to add in? Oh, there it is. Oh, okay. Open that other down. Copy both of these. Yep. And then go to the desktop. And then just go on the desktop. Yeah. Oh, actually, I grabbed the wrong one. You just do it. Oh, no, that one's right. But then for the PDFs, you'll have to do the same. Next one. No, sorry, that one's correct. Oh. The image one, you'll have to do the same thing with that. It's because it's like there's like different users. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, because it's like a public machine. With your own computer, you shouldn't have a problem. Right. Anyone got it? Yeah. All right. So now we're going to add the other file, all right, which is a PDF. That's going in the lit folder. So we're going to click on lit. All right, and then we're going to import as a PDF. So same process. Lit is image. Image goes in the lit folder, and the interview goes in the interview folder. Okay. Yeah, so the interview is in the interview folder. And then the image file is in the lit folder. Okay. All right. So any questions about importing documents? Now you can see up here, all right, that there are actually kind of different types of documents you can add. All right. But for most people, even if you do like an audio interview, I think a lot of people prefer to get a transcription anyway. And in this class we won't go over coding audio, but if you are interested in it, then you can make an appointment with me and I'll show you how to do it on your laptop actually. Alright. Alright. So now we've created the file, alright, we've added the documents. Alright, now we're going to create the nodes. I'm just going to jump right back into PowerPoint though, because I just want to explain that basically when we talk about qualitative data, remember we talk about themes, and themes can have sub-themes, right? So for instance, when I think about the library, well, you can talk about the space of the library, or you could talk about the collections. Alright, so there's the main theme, and then there are like the parts of the theme. You can also have like sub-themes, so you can have sub-themes of sub-themes. In NVivo, they call these themes nodes. If a node is by itself, it's called a free node, and that's what's used in the documentation. But once that node, has at least one subnode or child, then it becomes a parent node. Alright, just like with people. Alright, and just like with people, alright, parent nodes can also have grandchild nodes. This is the documentation that QSR puts out. Those are the terms that we'll use. Alright, I usually just call them nodes and subnodes. In addition to having these sort of thematic nodes that keep track of the themes that you're finding in your data, I also like to have what I call functional nodes, because these will help facilitate your write-up. So for instance, there's the juicy quote node. So these are kind of like memorable statements that encapsulate your theme. So when you're like, putting together that like paper or like, I don't know, the poster or whatever, and you're like, oh, what was that thing that one person said that was really great? Alright, instead of having to look through like hundreds of pages of data, keep track of it. Code it in your NVivo file. Alright, and then when you're getting your results, you just click on the node and then you see all the interesting things that people said. Alright, they're designed to make your life easier. The other type of functional node that I recommend having are placeholder nodes. So sometimes as you're going through your data, there's a lot to kind of filter through and process, and sometimes you don't always know what you want to call it. I'd say don't waste too much time agonizing over a name. Alright, make like kind of like a dummy code or like a temporary one. Code it under that node, and that way, once you've done kind of your first round or whatever of looking at your data, you can click on that node, see what it was that you weren't sure of what to name, but that looked interesting, and then you can see if it falls into any of your categories. Does that make sense to people? It's the same thing like if you're doing it on paper, like you make little notes on the side, or just so you don't lose track of what was interesting, what was good, or you highlight it. It's the same thing in NVivo. It's just that when you get your results, instead of having to flip through all your pages of notes, you just click on the node and then all your results will pop up. So any questions about that? No? Alright, so let's create some nodes. I'm going to jump back into NVivo, and we're going to click on nodes down here. Nodes, yep. Yeah, lower left-hand corner. It's in the folder with the test files. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Or you can download it, just in case I move it in a month or so. But I don't have plans to, because I've been using it for all my training. Yep. Okay. So with the nodes, once again, just like what there was with creating the folders, there's two ways to create nodes. There's the click-through way. To go to that, you click on Create, because you're creating a node, right? And then you click Node. And we're going to call this node Theme 1.
I'm sorry, where did you?
You click on Node up here.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And then you call the first one Theme 1. Theme 1. The other way to create a node is if you right-click on the white space, then the option for new node just pops right up. Once again, if you're on a Mac, you don't have a right-click, you can control and then click as normal. That's the equivalent of right-clicking. Alright, we're going to call this new node Theme 2. And as of now, these are both free nodes. Alright, they're on the same line. Alright, which means that they can exist independently of each other. Okay. Alright. Does anyone have questions about creating nodes? No?
Mine is like theme 2 first, and the theme 1 is down there. So I can change to 1, 2, something like that.
It's because it's sorting out like simplified.
Yep. So there are different ways of organizing these. If you click on this little arrow over here, alright, see right now they're in alphabetical order, Theme 1, Theme 2. If you want reverse alphabetical order, you click on this, and now it's backwards. A weird quirk about NVivo is that if you label your themes, theme 1, theme 2, theme 3, all the way to like theme 10, theme 11. When it shows up, it'll say theme 1, theme 10, theme 11, all the way to theme 19, then it'll go theme 2. It's like a weird computer thing. So if you want to avoid that, you can put theme 01. So if you do 01, 02, 03, then 09, then it'll know, okay, then 10 is next. Alright. This is not listed in any of the training documentation, and I know because I had to like look around for like half an hour trying to find the answer to this question. Alright, so remember I said that, like, you know, a parent node can, a free node can become a parent node? Alright, to do that, or to add a sub-theme to your main theme, you want to click the theme. Alright, so we're going to click on theme 2, and we're going to right-click to create a new node. Alright, and we're going to call this new node sub-theme 1. Don't worry, this I meant to say sub-theme 1. Alright.
Sub-theme 2?
Sub-theme 1. We're going to put it on theme 2. Don't worry, we're going to fix it.
Okay.
Alright. Now you can see that sub-theme 1 is now a child, or kind of like a sub-theme, right? Because it's a little off to the right. Alright, and you see there's a little line that connects it to theme 2. Alright. But obviously this theme is in the wrong spot. Alright, so we're going to move it. Alright, so once again, click on the little node icon. Alright, move it around a little. Alright, and then put it on theme 1. Now, for whatever reason, the program will make it disappear, but if you click the little plus sign, then it'll reappear. You'll see it gets easier the more you do it. It is also a lot easier with a mouse. Alright, not that I'm a mouse salesperson, but it's a lot easier with a mouse. Alright. Okay. So we've gone over creating an NVivo file. Alright, we've gone over adding documents. Alright, and we've gone over creating nodes. So now we're ready to do some coding. Alright. So we're going to go back. We're going to click on our sources. Alright, because we need to open the file that we're going to work on. And we're actually going to open the interview file first. So we're going to click on interview, the folder, and then we're going to open the interview document. No, you click on sources. Remember, because that'll open like your little library. It should be under internals in the interview folder. It's the interview file. Okay. Now you'll notice that it opens on the right hand side of the screen. This is the orientation that I prefer because usually screens are longer than they are tall. All right. But you can change the layout. And it's confusing because you change the layout by going to view and then you click on detail view. Right now it's set to the right, but sometimes when you install it, it'll go on the bottom. Alright. So to switch it back, once again click on view, detail view, and then to the right. Alright. I always save every 15 minutes. With these panes over here, you'll see you can actually move them. Alright, and I like to move this one over quite a bit because usually once you're coding you don't really need to see too much in this area, but you do need to see what's over here and you need to see what's over here. Okay. In order to start coding, we need to reopen our nodes. Alright, so everyone, you need to go click down where it says nodes. Alright, because once again, these are the little buckets that you're going to put the text that has the theme present in. Right. And we're going to take the first sentence, how is a physician assistant's job different? We're going to highlight that entire first sentence, and then we're going to drop that, we're going to click and drag it into the theme 1 theme. Right. So remember, it's highlight, click, and then drag. You'll see over here that the count jumps up. Alright, the sources are the number of documents or interviews that have that theme or code present. The number of references tell you how many times it's been used overall across all your resources. Most, I think, qualitative data will have your report, like how many people or like how many participants. said something that included the theme and also how many times it showed up overall. So it does help to kind of keep track the two ways. Yes?
I click, like once I click, it just goes somewhere else. Like, it's probably the system. Like how do I drag it? Like, that's normally I drag it with the mic. Right?
Yep.
Highlight. Do I need to press something?
Okay. So now we're going to highlight the second question. All right. And then that's going to be put into the theme1 file, sorry, the theme1 node as well. All right, so you should see that even though this number remains at 1 under sources, the number of references will increase by 1. So it's usually good to have this open just so you can make sure that whoever you coded actually went into the appropriate theme. Now,
So we put it into theme 1 again?
into theme 1 again, yep. Now, with the text, you can put the text into as many themes as you want. All right, so if it's still highlighted, all right, click and drag it into theme 2. If it's not, once again, you gotta highlight it, click, and then drag and put it in.
I put that into theme 1, is that in soup?
Yes, it should be in theme 1 and also in theme 2.
Okay, both.
Both, yep. Alright, and then you just basically keep doing this. Alright, now sometimes people say, well, okay, that's all well and good, but what if I forget, like, or I want to see, like, really quickly what I had, you know, highlighted? Or, like, what happens if I accidentally put something in the wrong theme? Well, if you've just done it, alright, like with most programs, you can Control-Z, and then it'll go away. Alright, so Control-Z, and now we see it's disappeared from theme 1. However, I don't really want to do that, so I need to put it back in again.
What did you remove first? I'm sorry.
Control-Z. It undoes the last action that you've taken. Control-Z.
It's also the same with Mac.
It's Command-Z. Yeah. Yep.
Can you also redo?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did a Control-G.
Did you do anything else since?
No, Control-G. I just put this one right. No?
It's gonna do up there. Yeah.
Oh. So, I can't just if I do this over here, and then if I want to undo
Control-Z.
But remember, we want to keep this in theme 2. Alright, now let's say, oh, I did it a while ago, I can't just Control-Z my way to undo it. Alright, what you want to do, alright, there's a couple ways. I think the easiest way, though, is you just double-click on where you put it accidentally. Alright, so if you double-click theme 2, this does like a quick query. So it'll see whatever was coded under this theme. Alright. Now let's say, oh, you know what? This actually belongs in subtheme 1. I would recommend that you highlight it from this results page and then put that into subtheme 1. So you can code things from the document itself, or if it appears in the results, then you can also put that into a different code. Alright. Once it's showed up in subtheme 1, alright, then you can remove it from theme 2. To do that, right-click or control-click if you have a Mac, and you see that there's an option to uncode selection. Okay. So if it's under a recent node, you can click on that. It'll get rid of the code there. Once again, if it's been a while though, you're going to want to do add existing nodes. This allows you to select exactly what node or what theme you want to remove from that text. Alright, in this case, we'll take it out of theme 2. So we're going to click on theme 2, the little checkbox next to it, and we're going to hit OK. Alright, you'll see that it disappears from the theme 2 results, alright, because it's no longer coded with that theme, and you'll see it also disappears from the count on theme 2. Alright, so let's say you're coding something and like you realize that, oh, whatever I had it coded under is completely wrong, I need to go back and change it. NVivo makes it very easy to do that. It's a lot easier than having to go back and like unhighlight things or however post-its or colors that you used if you're using a paper. I think it's also easier than Excel. I've seen some people even trying to code in PowerPoint. It can get to be a lot to go back and make sure you got rid of all those incorrect references. Remember, the other good thing too is that you can rearrange the nodes, so you can reorganize your themes and all the coding will go with it. Alright, so you don't have to reorganize as much. Now, sometimes when you're looking at your document, we're just going to close out of this pane for now, go back to our interview. Alright. You want to see, okay, what did I actually code? Or sometimes, how far did I get when coding? That's right, especially if it's a long interview. There are a couple of tools that NVivo has to help you with that. They're listed under the View tab. The first one we're going to go over is Highlight. So if you click on Highlight, right, we're going to do coding for all nodes now. Alright, so whatever is coded is going to appear as being highlighted. You can also limit it to only show certain things, like if we only want to see what was coded under subtheme 1, we can go to Highlight, Coding for Selected Items. You might have to open, to see the additional codes. We'll click subtheme 1 and we'll hit OK. And then only what was highlighted with that theme will show up. So as you're scanning through your data, if you want to see like what theme was prevalent where, this is an easy way to it'll highlight all that information for you, which is good. Your other option is to use the coding stripes. Alright, so those are over here. Now sometimes these options are grayed out and they look like this, alright, and then you can't click on them. In that situation, all you have to do is click somewhere in the white area over here, and then they'll reappear. It's like a little quirk that NVivo has. It can also be frustrating. So remember, if things are grayed out, click over here on the white area and it should reappear. With the coding stripes, alright, we'll do all nodes coding first. The idea is that it simplifies the view of where these codes are appearing. So we'll see that, okay, so something was coded with theme 1 over here. Oh, and there's 2 codes that happened over here on this line. If we click on these colored little bars, alright, it'll actually highlight what was coded with that theme. So if we click on the theme 1, alright, we'll see that these both are highlighted because they were both coded with theme 1. Another cool thing that the Windows version of NVivo has, which unfortunately the Mac one doesn't, is if you gently hover over these lines, you can actually see in parentheses an initial. When it's on your computer, it should be your initials. This is useful if you have someone that's also coding your data. Alright, we call that intercoder reliability, because sometimes if you're seeing these things in your data, you want to make sure other people can see them as well. So usually the procedure is you give them a portion of your data, like maybe 20% of it. You give them your code book, alright, and then they go through the data, alright, and then they see if they can see the same things that you are. So the good thing about NVivo is that you can do that in the program. Usually you want to always agree 100%. So by looking at the coding stripes and seeing who coded what, alright, you can see, okay, you can talk about, okay, do you see this? Alright, was it a mistake? And you can always agree to disagree, but this makes it a lot easier to resolve any differences you might have. Just be warned though, there are some schools of thought that say that, well, if you have someone do intercoder reliability, once they code it, you can't really talk about it. But at least in my discipline with my advisor, she was like, well, sometimes people make mistakes, so it's better to go back and be able to change your mind. And sometimes, especially I think if you're developing like your own theory, it's good to be able to bounce ideas off of people. And then so if you if you disagree and you're not sure where you disagree, sometimes you won't get that information. Alright, so any questions about coding, uncoding, looking at results? Yes?
Would you mind showing how to delete one of the points that was in theme 2?
Sure. Alright, so let's say, so the question was, just show one more time how to delete a code. So we're going to highlight this third line, we're going to put it onto theme 2. Alright, and then we said, oh, I don't really want it to be theme 2. Now the good news is that, you see, it shows up as being coded as theme 2, if you click on theme 2, you can see what was highlighted, right, and what was coded. So you can actually, from the document, just highlight everything. You can right-click, and then you can uncode selection, uncode at existing nodes, and then pick the node that you want to remove the code from. Okay, and then it'll go away. The other option, if you don't have this view open, alright, so once again we'll highlight it, we'll put it in theme 2. You can do a quick query for theme 2 by double-clicking, alright, on the node. This will show you everything that was coded with that code. Alright, then you can highlight it, right-click, and then you can uncode selection at existing nodes, theme 2. So just like with most other computer programs, there's different ways of doing it. Alright, but for me, I just show you what I think is easiest. Alright. Okay. So any other questions? It's fairly straightforward, right? Alright. So now I'm just going to show you how to do a slightly more complicated query. Alright, and then I'll stop recording. I'll show you some actual data. I'll show you my dissertation data actually, and I'll show you the project where we had like 300 some odd codes. So then you'll see, why this is sort of like a useful tool to use.
Where did you get your PhD?
Library and Information Science. Yeah. Okay. So in order to look at your results, alright, you want to use what's called a query. So we click on that, then we click on coding. Usually that's what you'll be looking for. Now, you can limit it to only certain interviews or sources of data, or you can just do all sources. If you have your information organized in folders, you can do selected folders. Alright. Once again, you have to open the subfolders, and then you can say, okay, I only want to see what's in the interview folder, or oh, maybe I only want to see what's in the literature review folder. Then you can click that, and everything in that folder, that's the results that'll be returned. Your other option is if you do selected items. Alright, so let's say you have like individual documents and you only want one document. You don't want the whole folder. Alright, click on that. Okay. Click on interview, and then you can select the individual documents. For now though, we're just going to leave it as all sources. Okay. Now this is the tricky part, because the default option is all selected nodes. What most people think is that, oh, any node that I select, if there's any results or any text that's been coded under those nodes, it'll show me everything. But really, all is a more selective search. So for instance, in this room, if I said, okay, everyone that's a graduate student stand up, everyone would stand up. Alright, if I said, okay, everyone that's a graduate student and is a woman, alright, the guys would sit down. So even though I'm adding criteria, so all graduate students and women stand up, then some people would sit down because it's more exclusive, like what you're asking for. Any selected node would mean everybody inclusive. Alright, so if there's any criteria that any of the text meets, it'll all be returned. So if you ever do an all selected node search and you specify a bunch of nodes and nothing comes up, really what you're probably thinking was you wanted to do an any search. In order to select the nodes, you click on the ... If you're using a Mac, it actually looks like an arrow. Okay, and then you can select. So for instance, alright, we can look at theme 1, and we can look at sub-theme 1. Alright, so we can select both. Now NVivo has this little command, it's called automatically select descendant nodes. What that means is if you pick like a parent node, all its children will also be selected. So as you can see, when this box is checked, if I click on theme 1, sub-theme 1, the check mark automatically appears. Right. If I uncheck this box and I click theme 1, only theme 1 is selected. Okay.
Oh, can you repeat it again?
Yes. Alright, so once again, if automatically select descendant nodes is checked, when I click on theme 1 and sub-theme 1 is automatically checked. If the automatically select descendant nodes is not checked and I click on theme 1, only theme 1 is selected. Alright. So if you're ever clicking and then it looks like a lot more things are being selected than you want, it's probably because this option was selected. For now though, we'll do theme 1 and subtheme 1. Question?
Yeah, the automatically select descendant nodes, does that only go to the most immediate level, or does it go?
It goes to that node and any of its children. Alright, so let's say if subtheme 2, if there was a subtheme 2 under theme 2, alright, because it's not related to theme 1 in any way, it would not be selected, even though technically it's on the same level as subtheme 1. Okay.
But would a grandchild node be selected?
Yep. Yeah, all descendants. Yep. Okay, so now we have our results, and then we hit OK. The other tricky thing about this program is that in order to actually submit or like run the search, most people think that the button should be located somewhere down here. The button is actually hidden in the upper right hand corner under Run Query. Okay. Alright. So now we only had one result show up, right? Even though we know that there should be 2 references. Right? And that, of course, is because we have all selected nodes. Alright. So remember, if you want to see what it looks like with everything, click on any selected node. You can keep the same criteria, and now when we run the query, then we get more sentences. Okay. Alright. Any questions about this? Fairly straightforward. Alright. Now, what can you do with these? Once you have all your data and you're pretty happy with the coding, alright, usually people don't want to keep using NVivo. They want to take it with them. They want to put it in like a Word doc or like a PDF. In order to do that, you're exporting your results. What you do is you right-click or control-click if you have a Mac, and then you click on Export Result. Alright. So for this, usually the default is fine. I like to check the Open on Export box in the bottom left. That way I know that it's been done. And then I just hit OK. The default view isn't the prettiest, but it'll get you your information. Alright, you can save it as a PDF and then you'll have it. You can take it with you. You don't have to be using NVivo everywhere. Another cool thing about NVivo, the default view that the search results come in is as a reference, so it'll actually pull back the text that you've coded. Alright. You can also click on the text tab in the right hand corner. Alright, and then you'll see the document. If you click on the document, any of your results for your query will be highlighted. Alright, so you're seeing the same things that you were seeing in the reference view, but you're seeing them where they occur in the document, in vivo, as they say. Alright, so that can be useful if you're like going through your results and you need to see, you know, what they were. Alright, any questions about that? No? Alright. The last thing I'm going to show is only applicable to PCs, unfortunately, and that's when you code PDFs as an image. What I mean by that is if we go to our lit folder, so click on sources and then lit, and we're going to open the PDF, which is called image. Right. So for this, you'll see that when you try to highlight the text, only the top line shows up and is able to be highlighted. Alright. That's because when I save this PDF, I save this part as an image. Sometimes, like if you're doing like a literature review, alright, and for whatever reason, like the person or library that scanned it, they scan it as an image, not as text. That might happen. So in order to code this on PC, what you would do is you would go to Home, alright, and see under PDF selection, you have the option to do text or a region. You're going to want to change it to region. And if you wanted to code part of it, like you wanted to code this, this question, you'd open your nodes one more time. Alright, you would kind of highlight. It's almost like you're editing a picture, right? You're kind of cropping it out, and you're clicking and dragging this. We'll put this on theme 2 for now. Now, unfortunately, the Mac version doesn't have this. I swear one of the releases might have had it, but the last time I checked their FAQ for the Mac version, they said that it was not installed at all in this release.
So after I click the image, and then I
Yep.
click right, and then say export PDF or print.
No. Click and drag. It's just like with the text. You highlight what you want. Alright. And then you click and then you drag it over.
I have a question.
Yes.
What if you were doing a lit review and you had a bunch of PDF articles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way to upload those and figure out what's the themes, the recurring themes that pop up along all the articles?
So it sounds like you're asking, can NVivo figure out what these articles are saying and then tell me
Well, more about themes. So like
themes?
I would be because sometimes when you're doing a lit review, you have to read all the articles and you have to figure out the themes of all the articles.
Yep.
Is there a way for NVivo to do that for you? I mean, you obviously have to read all the articles, but
No. What you would do is you would keep track of it. You would use NVivo to keep track of what you were seeing.
themes, but you wouldn't use NVivo to locate or figure out the themes for you.
No. What I can show you is that if you go to query, like what it will do, actually, sorry, we're going to hop to the other document, the interview document. Alright, if you go to query and then you do like a text search, alright, like let's say you want to see like training. You can type in the word training, alright, you can pick which sources you want. With the Windows version, you kind of have 5 levels of definition for context. So the examples they give, if it's exact, if you put talk, it should return any search results that have the word talk in them. Alright, stemmed words means that it'll include more results. So not only will talk be included, but if there's anything before or after talking, like talking, that will be returned as a search result. And then it goes like into these different like synonyms, specializations, and generalizations. The Mac version, if I remember correctly, only has 3 levels of context. But this is good because then if you want to do training, alright, if you want to do with stemmed words, look in all sources and one query, alright, you see, okay, there's one reference to training in this document. If you click on the reference, alright, you'll see, oh, this is the sentence where this word or a word like it comes in.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that you have your interviews, right?
Mhm.
You'll be able to take the nodes or like split them up into nodes and then go into query to search for them, right?
Mhm.
But what if, let's say, under lit folder, you uploaded all of your articles, right? And then let's say you wanted to search, okay, training. Do you think it would then highlight on all the articles where the word training is captured or mentioned?
Yes. Yeah. So the question is, like, let's say you have documents in different folders, and like one of your themes is training, and you want to make sure that you didn't miss any instances of the word training in your documents. All right. What you would do is you do a text search. You would make sure you look in all sources, and then you'd look for the word. It'll look in all your sources. Okay. Yeah. So that's one way to kind of go through it.
I didn't know you could even do that.
Yep. Yeah, NVivo has something called auto-coding, which a lot of people think, oh, this will do my coding for me. It's not exactly like that. What it does is it looks more kind of like the way your document is structured. Like, let's say it's an interview and it knows, oh, you always ask this question second, and then it falls under this theme. So look, structurally say, okay, this is the second question. We're going to automatically apply this code, the response to that question in this theme. That's what auto-coding does. It's not really a smart auto-coding.
So
Yeah.
you put the training and then you run query or no? After that?
Yep, run query. Yeah, so once again, in order to look for the word training in the documents, you would type it in, you click on run query, and then it will look through all the documents that you specified and would look to see where that word appears. Okay. I just want to show you one more quick thing.
To catch a training, sorry.
It's okay. That's okay. All right. Remember, we took part of this image and we put it under theme 2. If we click on theme 2 to see the results, we get something that looks weird. These are actually coordinates, all right, which are not super useful for a person. In that case, what we want to do is we actually want to go to the right and click on PDF. It'll actually highlight on the PDF what you selected. So it's sort of useful, but ideally what you would want is you would want to be able to actually get the text. All right, but just know that this is kind of how you would make NVivo work if you have like an image like that.
Like a picture, and you want to show, like, maybe you're doing stuff, let's say, that's like, I don't know, obviously it would be a breach of confidentiality, but what, let's say the
No.
interviewee voluntarily gave up their picture. Could you then take their picture and somehow match
code
it
it?
to their interview?
Like with an image?
Yeah, I'm thinking there's like a few ways you could probably do it. Why you would do that is another question.
Keep track of who's saying what.
Yeah, I mean, it might be easier actually to have like another list, like an Excel file, and then you keep track of your demographics that way. With NVivo, we're not going to cover in this training session today, but you can create like a list of the different like demographic information for each person. So let's say like you wanted to do a query where you wanted to see what the females versus the males said, or maybe there's like an age difference, like under 21 and over 21. All right. In order to look for that, what you could do is you could put the demographic. You'd have like a file of your demographics, similar to what you would get if you did like a survey, you know, as an Excel file, and then you could attach that information to their document. So let's say you had like a document called like interview 1, and then you had demographic information about the person. Then everything that that person said, like if you're looking for a certain theme and only for what the under 21 people said, all right, it would actually know, okay, I want to look at this person because they fit the criteria of under 21. So it's like sort of a more advanced way of structuring your data so that you can run more filtered results. But that's advanced NVivo. Yeah, but I'll show you an example of that later.
There's such a thing called advanced NVivo.
No,
Okay.
it's just like a more, like there's advanced Excel where you do like pivot tables and stuff.
NVivo trainings?
I think that's more of like a one-on-one thing. Yeah, but we'll see. If there's enough interest, I might put together one. In addition to recording this, I'm also working on developing a few training videos that cover that, and then actually Mingwu suggested that I cover one that does that actually. They're called classifications. All right. Okay, other questions for posterity? No? All right. So I'm going to stop recording, and then I can show you a few more examples. If I can find the Camtasia.